Okay, so thanks again, everyone. Again, my name is Dan Gauntner, Product Marketing Manager at Dell. Also joining us, who's going to do the demo, Gazwan Kari, who's one of our systems consultants. First, I guess, to get the housekeeping out of the way, yes, Quest Software is now part of Dell, so we'll talk a little bit more about that. We're excited to be part of Dell. And thanks again to End User SharePoint and Mark Miller and Dave Coleman for being such gracious hosts. To get the Twitter stuff out of the way also, you can actually reach us. Our Twitter handle is still @QuestSharePoint. So we'd love to hear from you during or after our presentation to let us know how we did. And we mentioned SharePoint Conference earlier. We'd also love to see you at SPC. We are the Diamond sponsor, which is the single biggest, baddest sponsorship available. So you can stop by booth 319, and we'll give you a personalized demo of Migration Suite if you like what you see here. So Gazwan, you can move it to the first slide. And as I'm the Product Marketing Manager, I am going to start with a couple quick marketing slides. First, the Dell Migration Solution Set here. So we are going to show you a demo of Dell Migration Suite for SharePoint. It's a single agentless tool requiring just one installation where you can migrate really everything, SharePoint, Office 365, your Exchange public folders, your Windows file shares, to all versions of SharePoint, O365, or a hybrid. So yes, it's one tool to rule them all. We are SharePoint 2013 ready today, and we will be the second it's released to the public by Microsoft. So that's right. You're not messing around with installing with multiple tools. You're not messing around installing multiple tools. With Dell, you get one tool, one license, one price point, using the same crazy simple interface that Gazwan's going to show you during the demo. And to add a little more around Office 365, there are no cumbersome Microsoft certifications required since we don't install any agents, on any SharePoint servers. Furthermore, as our gift to the community and as our giveaway today, we invite you all to download a free version of Migration Suite. It's our free SharePoint 2013 migration tool at the URL you can see there on the slide. So it's quest.com/EUSP migration. Going to that link will take you to our free SharePoint 2013 migration tool. It's completely free for a limited time until 2013 goes public. Now, if only migrations were just about moving content from point A to point B, but as Peter alluded to earlier, we all know how important pre-migration readiness is, and Dell offers the expertise and the solutions with those things, such as what you see in the prepare section of this diagram. So things such as pre-migration assessment, establishing governance before your migration, and setting up data externalization, etc. So some of those things, we're not just a migration tool, we're a migration solution vendor. And Gazwan, if you want to flip over to my last slide. So at Dell, our mantra is simple, focused, and fast. We want our customers and our partners to gain maximum value from our products immediately from day one. So what does that mean? A couple things here. Migration Suite can be installed in minutes on any Windows client. So there's no hardware, software, or agents deployed on any SharePoint servers. We use the standard SharePoint web services, and this is good for two reasons. First of all, our tools are future-proof, and we'll be ready for any time a new SharePoint version is released the second it's released. As I said earlier, we're SharePoint 2013 ready. Also, our agentless architecture means no direct database writes, which puts your environment in an unsupported state by Microsoft. We enable power user migrations because we leverage the existing SharePoint permissions. So that's right, there's no privileged account admins needed. Our tool also works across domains, proxies, and firewalls. I also wanted to talk a little bit about our flexible licensing. So at Dell, we have options ranging from per gigabyte, per server, all the way up to unlimited enterprise. So remember, with Dell, you get one tool, one license, one price point for any scenario you can think of. And finally, I'm not going to bore you guys to tears with any of our corporate stats, but really the reality is we've been doing Windows-based migrations for a long time, probably longer than anyone else participating on this cage match here. And we've probably forgotten more about migrations than the others have ever known. So support. We know you guys are doing migrations at night, on weekends, perhaps with teams on different time zones. Don't sweat. With Dell, you get tech support in your local language every day of the year. And finally, I mentioned the Dell thing at the outset. As Quest is now part of Dell, we're backed by 100,000 plus employees, and we're absolutely thrilled to bring our product to more countries and more markets around the world. So with that, went a little bit over time, Goswin, with my marketing slides, but I'm going to turn it over to you for the demo of Migration Suite.
Great. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Looks fine.
Yes, we can.
Great. Thank you. So I will be real brief. I've got 10 minutes to go. So the first scenario I'm going to address, and you'll probably see a lot of today, is how granular can my migrations get. You know, there is a need to migrate sites or upgrade sites or site collections entirely, but also in certain situations where you do not want to migrate the entire site or site collections, but rather you just want to port over just that tasks list or a procedural document. I'm going to walk you through that specific method. So again, here's the interface for Migration Suite for SharePoint. On the left-hand side, I've navigated over to all my SharePoint sites that I want to work with. This, again, can span SharePoint 2003, 7, 10 online, and the SharePoint 2013 preview. I've connected to a site. If I want to upgrade this specific list, and this list only, because that's the requirement, very simple, right-click on it, select copy. And this is SharePoint 2007. Go to your target site, right-click on the target site, and select paste. You're going to get a wizard to verify what is it that you're doing. If you want to configure things differently, in some cases you may or may not be interested in the content. In other cases, you're definitely interested in maybe bringing over the content types, permissions, views, web parts, SharePoint Designer, object stuff, etc. And I'll just go ahead and click Finish. This basically upgrades a list from SharePoint 2007 to SharePoint 2010. So a lot of granular options there. But again, this scenario specifically is addressing just a list-level copy from SharePoint 2007 to SharePoint 2010. And again, here's the log for how long it took. It took 14 seconds. We processed everything, and we processed everything okay. So next scenario. The next scenario will address, you will probably not see outside of this interface, and that is the ability to bulk upload content using a CSV file with the specific scenario of I want to map or remap content types as I assign metadata to content when I migrate it or restructure it. Picture this. You've got SharePoint 2007, a lot of document libraries. Most of these document libraries are of document content type. The business requirement is these are no longer document content types in SharePoint 2010. These are different content types. So I want the ability, as I upgrade this environment, to also remap the content types. So I'm going to show you how you do that, but I'm going to also show you how you do that using a CSV file. So I don't want to use the interface, which is an option. I'm going to actually use a CSV file to do that. Walk you through the process real quickly. And I'm going against file shares as well in here. So you could do that against SharePoint content, public folder content, or file share content. So I'm going against the file share in here. I've got a finance folder, 3 documents. I'm going to highlight these 3 documents, or I can actually run a filter and say only show me the documents or the items that meet the specific criteria. Come back with that result. Grab all this stuff, and we're going to put it again on SharePoint, in this case 2010. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it, literally drag it, and drop it onto my document library. I'm going to go to the next screen.
Guys, when you have 5 minutes.
Okay. And on the next screen, you see the content type drop-down. In the content type drop-down, I'm going to change the content type to a cage match content type. Cage match content type has these different attributes on it, so I can come in here and map these specific attributes. So name is going to have whatever value. Maybe this is the second session, so I'll just say all of these will have session number equal to 2. And we'll assign all of these items that we're bringing in to Gus, myself, and we'll go ahead and click Next. Rather than finishing this and running it on the screen, what I want to do is generate the CSV file, click on Finish, put the CSV file somewhere on the screen, say this is cage match file, save this, create it. So now I've got a CSV file. I can manipulate outside of this. I can decentralize to whoever needs to fill this out. Eventually, I'll come back to this screen, go to my target destination, SharePoint 2010, right-click on the document library I want to upload this content to, and say I want to upload content using a CSV file. Here's my CSV file. I'm going to now point to it, put it on the desktop. We call it page match file. We're going to select everything, and we're going to say finish. So I'm uploading to SharePoint using a CSV file, whereby in that CSV file I remapped content types. Again, this kind of scenario you will not see outside of this interface. The third scenario is just go against a specific site altogether. So I'm going to go against the specific site, right-click on that site, select copy it, go to my target destination. Again, SharePoint 2010 to 2010, 7 to 2007, 10 to 2007 to 2010. I'm going to paste it. A lot of options to choose from as far as site copy options, list copy options, advanced options, which is what you've seen with our partner Metavis previously in the previous session. So that's the site level copy. You'll see the compare in here. A lot of reports to run against sites. So before I migrate it, what kind of term stores, what kind of keywords do I have? Before I migrate it, what kind of look and feel do I have? What kind of SharePoint Designer objects do I have? The ability to migrate off of Exchange public folders is also available to us in here. I just connect to my Outlook, and I'm able to migrate my contacts list or my calendars list from Outlook or public folders to a SharePoint as well. The ability to even do an item level copy. So again, going back to our maybe document library, double click on it. Here's a document. I just want to grab this document and put it in SharePoint. Let's put it in Office 365 as just a different example. So I'm going to grab this document and say, I'm going to grab this document and put it on shared documents, and this site is actually Office 365. So it'll take slower to load, but this is exact same process, exact same behavior where you're grabbing a document or a list or a site, an entire site, and you're copying this from an on-premise SharePoint environment to an Office 365 environment. Again, you'll get the metadata mapping screen. You'll get the ability to take some advanced options. Do you want to map the content? Do you want to get rid of folder structures, things like that? Again, with the interface, you get the scheduling. There's a scheduling interface, so all the migration jobs I'm running right here, I can go back to and say I want to schedule this. I do not want to run it right now. Or I could go back to and say, you know what? It's been a week since I migrated this. Let's take a look at what's different now. Let's just grab the changes, the delta changes from the source environment to the target environment. So if these are long migrations, you can do your first pass, have your users continue to use the source environment, and then we'll come a week or a month or 6 months later, and we'll just run the delta changes and synchronize those over to the SharePoint target environment.
Desmond, final 2 minutes. Yep,
okay,
final
great.
2 minutes.
Okay, great. A lot of reports to run around the interface as well, so you could right-click on a site. You can see who has access to the site. Before you migrate the site, you also have the option to right-click as well and say, before I migrate this, I want to see what kind of SharePoint Designer objects we have. A lot of reporting capabilities. If, say, you do have a Fab 40 template and you want to get away from that, well, first of all, is the site using Fab 40? So is there a way for us to list the SharePoint site and list templates against a specific site? Absolutely. You can come in here and say, this is site templates, and show me what kind of templates I have, and it goes out to that specific site, generates a report for you that you say, okay, now we know what the site is using, and we could use that specific GUID and maybe map it to an STS #0. Take that custom site template and map it to a blank or a team site template. We can use that in the wizard itself. We can use that to map the templates back and forth as we run our upgrades. So just a recap, what I showed you here today gives us the ability to migrate from previous legacy SharePoint environments, 2003, 7 into 10. We also support SharePoint 2013 preview. We have the ability to migrate off of Exchange public folders, files from file shares, as well as the ability to migrate to Office 365, all within one interface. Again, that is agentless. You put absolutely nothing on SharePoint servers. And
Goslin.
And you do that through a remote server. Thank you.
Great, thank you.